Shafa Alya Ginanita. Today, I will present about interpretation of data. There are three contents in this presentation. First, what is data interpretation? Second, what are data interpretation methods? Third, visualization techniques in data analysis. First, what is data interpretation? Data interpretation is the process of reviewing data through some predefined process which will help assign some meaning to the data and arrive at relevant conclusions. It involves taking the result of data analysis, making the inferences of the relations studied, and using them to conclude. The second content is, what are data interpretation methods? Data interpretation methods are how analysts help people make sense of numerical data that has been collected, analyzed, and presented. Data, when collected in raw form, may be difficult for the layman to understand, which is why analysts need to break down the information gathered so that others can make sense of it. For example, when founders are pitching to potential investors, they must interpret data, example market size, growth rate, etc., for better understanding. There are two main methods in which this can be done, namely quantitative methods and qualitative methods. First, let me tell you about qualitative data interpretation methods. The qualitative data interpretation method is used to analyze qualitative data, which is also known as categorical data. This method uses text rather than numbers or patterns to describe data. Qualitative data is usually gathered using a wide variety of person-to-person techniques, which may be difficult to analyze compared to the quantitative research method. There are two main types of qualitative data, namely nominal and ordinal data. These two data types are both interpreted using the same method, but ordinal data interpretation is quite easier than that of nominal data. In most cases, ordinal data is usually labeled with numbers during the process of data collection, and coding may not be required. This is different from nominal data that still needs to be coded for proper interpretation. Next, quantitative data interpretation method. The quantitative data interpretation method is used to analyze quantitative data, which is also known as numerical data. This data type contains numbers and is therefore analyzed with the use of number and not text. Quantitative data are of two main types, namely discrete and continuous data. Continuous data is further divided into interval data and ratio data, with all the data types being numeric. Some of the statistical methods used in analyzing quantitative data are: first, mean. The mean is a numerical average for a set of data and is calculated by dividing the sum of the values by the number of values in a data set. It is used to get an estimate of a large population from the dataset obtained from a sample of the population. Second, standard deviation. This technique is used to measure how well the responses align with or deviates from the mean. It describes the degree of consistency within the responses. Together with the mean, it provides insight into dataset. Third, frequency distribution. This technique is used to assess the demography of the respondents or the number of times a particular response appears in research. It is extremely keen on determining the degree of intersection between data points. Some other interpretation process of quantitative data include regression analysis, cohort analysis, predictive, and perspection analysis. The last content is visualization techniques in data analysis. There are different techniques of data visualization. Some of them are: first, bar graphs. Bar graphs are graphs that interpret the relationship between two or more variables using rectangular bars. These rectangular bars can be drawn either vertically or horizontally, but they are mostly drawn vertically. The graph contains the horizontal axis as x and the vertical axis as y, with the former representing the independent variable while the latter is the dependent variable. Bar graphs can be grouped into different types depending on how the rectangular bars are placed on the graph. Some types of bar graphs are: first, group bar graph. The group bar graph is used to show more information about variables that are subgroups of the same group, with each subgroup bar placed side by side like in a histogram. For example, let us consider the subgroups of the average CGPA of students in the mathematics and statistics department of an institution. Second, stacked bar graph. A stacked bar graph is a group bar graph with its rectangular bars stacked on top of each other rather than placed side by side. In this graph, the rectangular bars representing the mathematics and statistics department are stacked on top of each other, with each other representing first year, second year, and third year student. Third, segmented bar graphs. Segmented bar graphs are stacked bar graphs where each rectangular bar shows 100% of the dependent variable. It is mostly used when there is an intersection between the variable categories. Here are the advantages and disadvantages of a bar graph. The advantages of a bar graph are: it helps to summarize the large data, estimations of key values can be made at a glance, and can be easily understood. But the disadvantages of a bar graph are: it may require additional explanation, it can be easily manipulated, and it doesn't properly describe the data set. Next, pie chart. A pie chart is a circular graph used to represent the percentage of occurrence of a variable using sectors. The size of each sector is dependent on the frequency or percentage of the corresponding variables. There are different variants of the pie chart, but we will be restricted to only 3. For better illustration of these types, let us consider the following example. There are a total of 50 students in a class, and out of them, 10 students like football, 25 students like snooker, and 15 students like badminton. First, simple pie chart. The simple pie chart is the most basic types of pie chart, which is used to depict the general representation of a bar chart. Second, donut pie chart. Donut pie is a variant of the pie chart with a blank center allowing for additional information about the data as a whole to be included. And third, 3D pie chart. 3D pie chart is used to give the chart a 3D look and is often used for aesthetic purposes. It is usually difficult to reach because of the distortion of perspective due to the third dimension. This is the advantages and disadvantages of a pie chart. The advantages of a pie chart are: it is visually appealing and best for comparing small data samples. But the disadvantages of a pie chart are: it can only compare small sample sizes and unhelpful with observing trends over time. Next, tables. Tables are used to represent statistical data by placing them in rows and columns. They are one of the most common statistical visualization techniques and are of two main types, namely simple and complex tables. Simple tables. Simple tables summarize information on a single characteristic and may also be called an univariate table. An example of a simple table showing the number of employed people in a community concerning their age group. And second, complex tables. As its name suggests, complex tables summarize complex information and present them in two or more intersecting categories. A complex table example is a table showing the number of employed people in a population concerning their age group and sex as shown in the table below. The advantages of tables are: can contain large data sets and helpful in comparing two or more similar things. And the disadvantages of tables are: they do not give detailed information and may be time-consuming. Last, line graph. Line graph or charts are a type of graph that displays information as a series of points usually connected by a straight line. Some of the type of line graphs are: first, simple line graphs. Simple line graphs show the trend of data over time and may also be used to compare categories. Let us assume we got the sales data of a firm for each quarter and are to visualize it using a line graph to estimate sales for the next year. Second, line graphs with markers. These are similar to line graphs but have visible markers illustrating the data points. Last, stacked line graphs. Stacked line graphs are line graphs where the points do not overlap and the graphs are therefore placed on top of each other. Consider that we got the quarterly sales data for each product sold by the company and are to visualize it to predict company sales for the next year. The advantages of a line graph are great for visualizing trends and changes over time, and it is simple to construct and read. The disadvantages of a line graph is it cannot compare different variables at a single place or time. Okay, that's all about my presentation. Thank you for watching. Bye!